finally this hour, a special moment for a little boy in the United Kingdom.
And it's definitely making people feel grateful for the little things in life that we often take for granted.
Whistles while we get it in the right place. Okay?
I can hear him.
I know you can. I know you can. I'm trying to get your curls out the way first.
Does it sound better? It does.
I know. Look at that face. That's little Henry. He's testing out his brand new hearing aid. Henry lives in Wales and was born with only one ear. But thanks to this hospital, he was able to hear in stereo for the first time ever. And of course, he could not hold back the excitement.
That's a great story, isn't it?
These videos will never get old. They'll stay right there.
The Fox 13 6 o'clock news starts right now.
I'm voting for America, and the only one who's putting America first is Donald Trump.
I voted for Kamala Harris because she's honest, because Trump is a crook.
Right now at 6, voters across Florida and across the nation face a stark choice this election day. Tonight, America chooses its next president of the United States.
From Tampa Bay's #1 news station, this is the Fox 13 6 o'clock news.
Good evening, I'm Allie Corey.
And I'm Mark Wilson. So glad to have you with us on this election night tonight. Months of campaigning, a late night switch at the top of the Democratic ticket. 2 assassination attempts on a former president, and the 2024 presidential election has been full of twists and turns in ways we've never seen before. But tonight, there is now 1 hour left, just one. The polls close at 7, and Fox 13 is your election night headquarters.
We certainly are. We are preparing to share the results and to help you understand the timing in which we expect them to come in. We are following the major campaigns and keeping an eye on the polls, of course, as voters make their voices heard. Our crews are standing by for you. We want to begin with Fox 13's Kylie Jones, who's live tonight in Tampa. Kylie.
Well, and Allie, the voter turnout across Tampa Bay really indicates how important a lot of these races and issues are to so many people. Most of our counties across Tampa Bay are reporting upwards of 75% voter turnout. And here in Hillsborough County, we've just reached the record-breaking 77% from last year, from last major election in 2020. And there's still time to top that at this point. And again, voter turnout has been strong around Tampa Bay. In Pinellas County, the supervisor of elections is reporting voter turnout more than 78%. Pasco County is reporting more than 76%. Manatee County is about 78%. And Sarasota County is now at 83% voter turnout. You still have time left, but that time is dwindling. You got less than an hour now to come out to the polls. And once the clock strikes 7, that is when a poll worker at each site will come out and get in line. So you got to be in front of that poll worker in order to be able to vote. We'll have updates and county by county information on fox13news.com.
Yeah, 80%, Kylie. That's remarkable turnout territory. We'll see if it continues elsewhere. Thanks much.
Well, you know, some of the battleground states will have results sooner than some others. And our political editor, Craig Patrick, here now to explain exactly what to expect in the race for president and the balance of power in Congress. Craig, we might have to wait a little bit tonight.
We probably will. Keep in mind, in Congress, the projections strongly favor Republicans winning control of the Senate, with likely Democratic losses in West Virginia and in Montana. Control of the House, meanwhile, that one is really anyone's guess. And in the race for president, remember back in 2020, it took 4 days to project a winner. And in 2000, it took 5 weeks in a race decided in Florida by 537 votes. So we simply don't know at this point how long it will take to project a winner ultimately tonight.
So, Craig, do you think we could see any surprises tonight beyond the swing states?
One to watch is Iowa, thought to be not a swing state at all, solidly in Trump's column, but Ann Seltzer, a highly respected pollster, showed Harris leading slightly in that state. Let's see if that bears out. If there's a surprise, it could be there. Meanwhile, the polls collectively could be off in one direction or the other, meaning that we could have a surprise in the sense that either Vice President Harris or former President Trump could win far more decisively than the polls collectively suggest.
All right, Craig Patrick, you will be here with us all night long, so we will see you in just a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you.
So former President Trump is in Florida. He's watching election results tonight from Mar-a-Lago. Then he'll speak at the Palm Beach Convention Center at some point this evening. That, of course, will depend on when the results come in and what those results are. But Fox 13's Evan Axelbeck is right there. Joins us now live tonight. Hi there, Evan. What do you think we're expecting tonight?
Well, certainly all reporting here on the ground in Palm Beach and talking with Republican officials and also people close to the Trump campaign say that they certainly believe that Trump is going to have the state of Florida in his column, but they also believe, unlike 2020, that Florida is going to fuel his victory and pretend his victory across the rest of this country, and that he will be headed back to the White House thanks in part to the momentum and the ability to run up the vote here in Florida. They believe that the aspects of the campaign that are in his direction will be on display in Florida, and that they will then be pushed out to the rest of the country. That is what they believe. They believe that when it comes to issues like inflation and the border, and they have seen the early vote run up here in Florida on their side, they believe that that Florida is going to be a sign of things to come nationwide. He's going to be watching the returns at Mar-a-Lago, and then potentially coming here at some point this evening, depending on what the results show, when those results are coming in, and how much they may or may not be in his favor. So we're going to wait and see, Mark and Ali. Obviously, we remember in 2020, he came out and said the election had been stolen from him. It remains to be seen what he's going to say this time. He's already making accusations about the situation in Philadelphia, where there has been very high turnout. Officials there have discounted those allegations. So we're just on the beginning of a very wild ride, guys. Back to you.
We are indeed, and you have a front row seat there in Palm Beach. Evan Axel been glad for us. We look forward to chatting a little bit later on. Thanks, Evan.
While former President Trump awaits the polls closing in Florida, Vice President Kamala Harris has been back in Washington, D.C. today, doing radio interviews and encouraging the rest of the nation to get out and vote. She also stopped by her campaign headquarters in D.C., helping make calls directly to voters. Her official campaign appearances wrapped up last night in Philadelphia after a blitz through the swing states, and she urged those in Philly and beyond to exercise their right as Americans.
On these final hours, let us remember that there is power in knowing that we are together. And let us remember that your vote is your voice, and your voice is your power.
You can follow all our election coverage by downloading the Fox Local app. Just scan the QR code on your screen. And tonight, Vice President will be at her alma mater, Howard University in Washington, D.C. to watch as those results come in. We will check in live with Fox's Connor Hansen, who is at her watch party in our next half hour.
And still to come here at 6, voters all over the country are in their final hours now to cast their ballots.
You know, some have faced more challenges than others, for sure. Ahead at 6:30, the latest on a court ruling over delayed absentee ballots in Georgia, and tents set up to make sure voters impacted by Hurricane Helene have a polling place. We'll be right back.
I knew this job was going to be fun. It's been a non-stop adventure.
How cool is that?
And I've learned things about Florida that I never could have imagined.
My pictures draw you in.
Plus, I have worked with some of the greatest people in the TV business.
30 years in the business. I've been a fan all my life, so it's good to have you here.
I've been around all your life.
For 30 years, it has been and continues to be an honor to help the people of Tampa Bay make their day a good day.
Well, we got our first look at the suspect accused of planting 2 explosive devices at the Seminole Hard Rock Casino back in September. Brian Eckley appeared in court for the first time on Tuesday morning.
Yeah, Fox 13's Ariel Placencia was there and has more from his attorney.
And now, Fox 13 Chief Meteorologist Paul Delgado with your Sky Tower radar forecast.
Yeah, his check on Sky, we'll go back on this for a second. Here's a check on radar today. We had a pretty good wind come in from the east all day today, and first highs today. We had temperatures along the, whatever the computer wants to do, I'll just play along. Mid-70s up in New York City today, 77 degrees in D.C., 70 in Charlotte. So it's a continuation of warm weather up and down the East Coast. Weather-wise for this election day, the only trouble spot was along this boundary where there's some heavy rain and storms. It was cold out in the west, but overall, I mean, nothing weather-wise that would bring the voting numbers down. That's for sure. 54 Denver. Back home we go. Gusty east winds and showers continue to roll in off the Atlantic today, and they'll diminish tonight. They'll pick up again tomorrow, but they're quick moving. Get low pressure south of us. That is the tropical storm. Then up to our north is high pressure. In between the high and the low are some gusty winds. That'll continue for at least the next couple of days. You can see low pressure. Here is Here's the tropical storm, Rafael, which will slice over Cuba and then take a big left-hand turn. During the day today, as we look at satellite, storm is certainly getting better organized. It's on its way to becoming a hurricane. This is the 4 o'clock advisory. I would not be surprised at the next advisory, which is an intermediate advisory at 7 o'clock. This should be a hurricane. It's almost there now. Top winds are 70. Rafael is going to take a pretty significant left-hand turn. It's almost like it puts its blinker on and goes west. You know, why this big turn to the west, which I'll be honest, in November is not usually how it plays out. It's because the ridge over us is actually to get stronger for a couple of days. So the ridge, which we've been looking at and watching the pressure, see how strong the pressure is, for about a day or two gets stronger, and that actually pushes the storm away from us. And with it going west of us, I mean, impacts for us are minimal. I mean, we'll see some showers increasing with a southeast wind. There could be some marine impacts well offshore, but the real strong winds here with the Fox model are way west of us. So not much coming up at all, except a slight increase in showers and some gusty winds, and no big change temperature-wise. We stay in the mid-80s for daytime highs. 86 tomorrow, more mid-80s coming up on Thursday, and beyond that, it's more mid-80s. We're just locked in every single day. Nighttime lows in the 70s. Scott.
Thank you, Paul. All right, we got a little hockey tonight. Bolts back in action, looking to snap a 2-game skid as they wrap up their Western Conference road trip. And speaking of skids, the Bucks lost another tough one under the Monday night lights last night in Kansas City, starting to mirror a losing streak that they had right around this time last year. So how do they turn it around like they did last year? Sports is next.
Election night special coverage on Fox.
Every poll,
every state. Shannon Bream and John Roberts anchor.
the presidential election.
Special coverage live on Fox.
The NFL's trade deadline came and went today. The Bucks did not make a move despite being thin at several positions like wide receiver and cornerback right now. Todd Bowles is hopeful, though, that both Mike Evans and cornerback Jamel Dean might be back following the bye here in 2 weeks. So we have a hockey game on tonight. I'm not sure how many people will be watching, but based on what people are saying about election results, I think you'll probably be able to squeeze a lightning game in before running out.
Might be a little while. So. That's true. A couple overtimes, too, probably fine. Thanks, Scott.
Well, when we come back, voters line up from coast to coast to make their voices heard. We'll check in with both campaigns and the polls next.
Mail-in ballots has some voters in Georgia unsure whether or not their votes will be counted. The latest decision from the state Supreme Court. At makeshift polling sites, some North Carolina voters who saw their precincts damaged in Hurricane Helene are voting in tents today. So that's where we are, Election Day in America. It will start winding down now as the polls here on the East Coast close in just about a half an hour.
Fox 13 is your election night headquarters, and you can also watch the results on our Fox Local app. All you have to do is scan the QR code right there on your screen. Fox's Rebecca Castor has been following the Trump campaign tonight. She joins us live from South Florida. Good evening, Rebecca.
Allie, good evening. We're at the Palm Beach Convention Center where the Trump campaign is hosting its election night watch party. But the former president is going to watch the returns come in from his home at Mar-a-Lago with a small group of family and friends. Donald Trump was asked earlier today if he'd accept the results of the election if he lost. He said if it's a, quote, fair election, he'll be the first to acknowledge it. Allie, Mark, back to you.
Well, Rebecca, we know that you've been there all throughout the day in West Palm Beach. There's, I know, a tight race. We might not have those results for days, possibly. How would you describe the mood there?
Well, people are really excited here at the convention center. Of course, it's going to be filled with Trump supporters, so obviously they're hoping for a Trump win. But there's also a sense of anxiety in the room as well because of what you just mentioned. If we're going to know the results tonight, maybe not. And people are also wondering when Donald Trump himself will come to the convention center to speak to supporters. We know he's going to come at some point, but what time that will be, we don't know that.
Okay, Rebecca Castor following it all for us there in West Palm Beach. Rebecca, thank you. To Georgia now, where the state Supreme Court paused an extension granted by a lower court for voters to have absentee ballots in.
Yeah, it's all because of Cobb County. Election officials there mailed 3,400 absentee ballots late, and voters may not be able to return them in time. Fox's Brooke Zahner explains where things stand right now. That was Brooke Zahner reporting for us. Any Cobb County absentee ballots received after the deadline through 5 p.m. on November 8th have got to be kept separately and securely, but they cannot be destroyed until further notice from that court.
Well, voters in parts of battleground state North Carolina have an extra challenge when it comes to voters, and that's because Hurricane Helene upended their lives weeks ago. But as Fox's Chelsea Torres shows us tonight, election officials there are working to make sure that everyone who wants to can cast their ballot.
Chelsea, thanks. And after months on the campaign trail, Election Day, of course, is finally here. But for the candidates, as long as people are casting their votes, there is still work to do. Let's bring in Fox's Connor Hansen, who's live tonight in Washington with how the Harris campaign is spending their election night. Connor, good evening. What do you know?
Good evening, Mark. People are still filtering into this event in Washington, D.C., many of them students, as polls start to close across the country in those earliest states. But even before today, near a record 80 million people had already voted. That's more than half the total amount of ballots cast in 2020. Now, both campaigns are going to be relying on who shows up today. And Vice President Harris will be here tonight as those results come in at her alma mater, Howard University. She's calling this a full circle moment. This is actually where she first ran for office as freshman class representative. Mark, Allie.
Connor Hansen live for us. All right, Connor, we are anxious to see how the night unfolds, and we will check back with you later. We've got an added layer of security as well, keeping our kids safer in schools. That's coming up next, how AI technology is being used to help prevent a deadly shooting.
Wake up with Good Day Wednesday for complete, up-to-the-minute election results.
Plus reaction from all across the Bay Area to this landmark vote.
And then Charlie samples the menu at a family-owned restaurant serving up classic food on a new level.
And the rest of your news, weather, and traffic all morning
on Good Day Wednesday.
Need an idea for dinner tonight? How about stuffed peppers, scallops, snapper, grouper, steak or steak tips, pasta, lasagna rotolo, fruits, veggies, chips, sushi, duck, falafels, crab cakes, adobo, gnocchi, pork tenderloin, croquettes, or even lobster mac and cheese. Get great ideas for dinner from the Bay Area's best chefs on Dinner Diaz.
Weekdays at 1 on Fox 13 or watch anytime on Fox Local. Just download the app on your streaming TV.
Well, defense attorneys in Highlands County got one last chance to convince a judge to send convicted killer Zephan Xavier to prison rather than death row. And today was a Spencer hearing, that's what they call it for Xavier, who was convicted of killing 5 women inside that Sebring SunTrust Bank in 2019. A jury sentenced him to death, but a judge will ultimately decide. And today's hearing gave attorneys the opportunity to give the judge mitigating evidence to sway his decision. 3 expert witnesses were called. One saying scans of Xavier's brain showed he had an anomaly that actually impacted his decision-making. Another said he was bullied and lacked emotional maturity. And the third said Xavier had visions of violence and heard voices in his head. The hearing will now wrap up, we are told, December 3rd.
A 13-year-old girl is hospitalized in stable condition after St. Petersburg police say she somehow shot herself on a school bus this morning. It happened near 49th Street and 17th Avenue North as the bus was full of kids on their way to Tyrone Middle School. Now, police say no one else was hurt or threatened during the incident. Officers say the bullet exited through the side of the bus, and detectives are now working to determine exactly what happened, if the gunshot wound was accidental, and how the 13-year-old got the gun. Levi Vieira sits in front of the 13-year-old.
I was scared. I thought it was like a balloon at first being popped until I smelled the gunpowder and she started screaming.
He said, "Love you." I said, "I love you more." And then 30 seconds after our last text, I get a text stating, "I'm scared, Mom. Someone got shot." And my heart just sank.
Pinellas County Schools had counselors at the school to speak to students and staff about what happened, and they will be there as long as needed.
Well, stopping someone before shots are fired. That's the goal of some new technology being implemented all across the Sarasota County School District.
It is an added layer of security that'll be used to protect students and staff. And Fox 13's Kimberly Quizon shows us how artificial intelligence will help spot a threat. Omni Alert Gun Detect is already used in hundreds of schools across the country and other organizations.
Well, shake up in Israel tonight. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu dismissed his popular defense minister. And it came as a bit of a surprise as the country's embroiled in wars on multiple fronts right now. Netanyahu has repeatedly been at odds with Yoav Gallant all throughout the war in Gaza. In fact, the prime minister tried to fire Gallant in March of 2023. That was met with widespread protest. Netanyahu cited significant differences here between their views on how to proceed in Gaza and Lebanon for the dismissal, as well as a lack of trust with him.
Stay with us. Chief Meteorologist Paul Delgado will have another check of the forecast and the tropics when we come back.
Talented head chefs, right?
Big egos mean big blow-ups for Gordon.
Where is the passion?
Hell's Kitchen head chefs only. All new Thursdays on Fox.
Fox 13's Prime Time is sponsored locally by Mid-Florida Credit Union.
I'm Haley Hines. You're watching Fox 13, home of the NFL and Super Bowl 59.
U.S. stocks rallied as voters headed to the polls, and more data showed the economy remains solid. The Dow added 1%, or just over 427 points. The Nasdaq was also up 259 points, and the S&P 500 ended the day 70 points higher.
So voters in Arizona have a few more hours now to cast their ballots. It could be a bit of a time-consuming task, though, for some of them to fill out the ballot. Those in Maricopa County, they're going to face a two-page ballot with 79 contests online. Abortion access is also on the state's ballot. If Proposition 193 is approved, the right to abortion will be added to Arizona state's constitution. Phoenix Mayor Kate Gallego is urging voters to vote for every single measure on the ballot.
We are hoping for a great high turnout and a historic day today. There are so many issues on the ballot today as well. I want to encourage everyone to vote the entire ballot. Some of the local government initiatives could make a huge difference in our daily life.
According to data from the Associated Press, about 82 million Americans nationwide cast their ballots in early voting for the 2024 presidential election. More than 2 million of those advanced ballots were from Arizona residents.
Polling places from coast to coast have been busy this election day. Hundreds of voters could be seen in North Alabama. Students at the University of Pennsylvania also lined up to vote. People wrapped around the corner outside of a polling station here in Cleveland, Ohio, and a parking lot overflowed in Jackson, Mississippi as a long line of voters waited to cast their ballots. If you want to monitor election results and you haven't already downloaded our streaming app, all you have to do is scan that QR code right there on the bottom of your screen. That'll help you download Fox Local.
Check it out. That might come in handy for sure.
Yes, it will.
Yeah, because it could be long, you know.
We'll be on at 7 to 8
days,
and then again from 9 to 10.
Hopefully we know something tonight. We do know, Paul, I can tell, I know it's been hot, but at least those evenings have gotten better.
Yeah, a little breeze outside, not bad. Here it is, Election Day. We're still tracking what should be Hurricane Raphael approaching the Cayman Islands. And besides that, pretty quiet weather locally. Look outside. Nice evening, 79 degrees. The winds have been a factor all day. They'll diminish a bit tonight. They'll pick up in speed again tomorrow. Look at the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days of November. I mean, this is ridiculous. 89, 88, 88, 87, 86. Way above average. And you know what? I think we stay mid to upper 80s until like the 15th and 16th. Another 7, 8, 9, 10 days. No rainfall today. We've had some showers go by, no doubt about that. Winds have been gusty. It makes sense. See the high way up in the corner of your TV set? High pressure up here, and then we have what is almost a hurricane approaching the Cayman Islands, and we're in between the high and the low. Get some wind and some showers whipping in from the east and southeast. We'll get some rain the next couple of days, but the rain directly associated with Raphael is going to slide west of us. In fact, it won't even really come that close. Any rain we get will be generated simply by a moist southeast wind flow that'll be around for a couple of days. The sun is now set, but I want to show you the earlier daylight view, which really shows nicely Raphael just about to the Cayman Islands. There's a new advisory coming out soon, and I think tonight we're looking at a hurricane. This is the enhanced satellite view with the deep convection right over the Cayman Islands now. Still the 4 p.m. advisory. They should put out an intermediate advisory soon. Top wind 70, moving northwest at 15. So Raphael is moving along. It's going to take a pretty abrupt left-hand turn to the west. In fact, the evening model runs, which come in earlier now because of the time change, still show a decidedly turn to the west. So the chances of this somehow paralleling our coast or heading our way, while it's never zero because the storm is south of us, it's really low. And then it moves northwest up towards Louisiana. Here's the modeling, and a pretty good agreement. There is some spread in the Gulf, but the spread is mainly to the west and not to the east. Some of the reliable models keep on going west to Texas, and others go up towards Louisiana. So it's not a real high confidence forecast once that turn begins, but there's nothing that shows a turn to the east, which is good. Here's our Fox model. It's that big, sharp left-hand turn. The winds and rain stay well west of us, and then it eventually ends up south of Louisiana. Here's rainfall potential, and all of this is generated by showers with a southeast wind that'll continue next couple of days. 70s and low 80s. The winds will diminish tonight. They'll pick up in speed again tomorrow. So tonight, partly cloudy, breezy, 73. Tomorrow, mix of clouds and sun. Breezy, a few showers developing during the day. 86, another day with temps in the mid-80s on Thursday, and more days. Again, it's September in November. Mid to upper 80s through Tuesday. Rain chances dropping as we head into the weekend.
All righty, Paul, thanks. You know, election night can be a little overwhelming. There's been a lot of build-up, especially in the last weeks and months. Coming up next, what to keep in mind as you watch the returns coming in this evening.
Election night special coverage on Fox.
Every poll,
Every station.
Shannon Bream and John Roberts anchor.
the presidential election.
Special coverage live on Fox.
When you use the Fox Local app on your phone, it's like turning this into this. It's big news because it lets you watch Fox 13 News and special content everywhere you go. Download the Fox Local mobile app now. It's like having your streaming TV with you whenever and wherever you want to catch up with what's happening in your world. Fox 13 is Fox Local.
I'm Charlie Belcher. Catch NFL action every week right here on Fox 13.
Well, we are just a few moments now from the polls closing in much of our state and on the East Coast this election night.
Getting results will be quicker in some states than in others, so keep that in mind as you watch our coverage all throughout the night. The 7 battleground states have varying rules on when votes are counted, so it is expected to take some time before all votes are tallied in those key states that are expected to decide the race for the White House. Tens of millions of Americans cast their ballots ahead of Election Day. Those include record numbers in battleground states like Georgia and North Carolina. Be wary of misinformation that may spread on social media posts tonight. Tensions are high and bad actors may try to prey on voters' fears. The Poynter Institute shared an article on digital media literacy with this advice. Watch out for common manipulation techniques designed to target your emotions and the uncertainty of the election. That includes emotional or inflammatory language, cherry-picking information about malfunctioning voting machines, or scapegoating, allegations that aim to cast blame on a group of people. And be sure to stick with official election websites and trusted news sources for the facts. We will, of course, be posting updates on the local, state, and national races, the amendments, and much more. It's all on our website. It'll be updating all throughout the night. All you have to do is keep fox13news.com uploaded on your phone. Well, for now, we are out of time. We're going to keep going online and on our Fox 13 News app.
Oh, we're going to keep going for sure. Stay with us on our streaming app, Fox Local, all throughout the evening for cut-ins and updates as races are called. We're going to be on the stream right now, so have a great night. We will see you back here on air at 10 o'clock.